What's happening, people, and welcome everyone to In the End Zone UK. Thank you for joining our weekly American football podcast. This is episode number 15 and still going strong and still loving it. If you haven't already, get on our Instagram page, go give us a follow, have a search for In the End Zone UK. The page will tell you exactly when we drop each episode each week. Tends to move around a little bit. But give us a follow, give us a shout out, give us a share to your friends. That would be fantastic. In this week, we will be looking back on a thrilling game week 14 in the NFL. But before we get into it, let me introduce the other half of the In the End Zone team. We're both in our headquarters today in the Midlands in the UK. And across the mic from me, it's Big Dave. How's it going, Dave?
Yeah, all right. I've just noticed.
Go on.
I've noticed that when I look down, the listeners won't be able to. Everyone knows what a double chin is. I've got a double chin when I look down at this camera.
Oh no.
Episode 15, I've realised I'm fat. Well, that's me.
Get on the cardio, Dave. Well, luckily for those who are only listening to the podcast and not watching it, you won't be subject to Dave's double chin. But I can assure you though, Dave, if you look straight, you ain't got a double chin. It's just stop slapping your double chin.
It's my angle.
That's it. So, well, Dave's got a double chin, and we're here to talk football. And I'm not surprised, actually, Dave, after the food that we consumed last week, and we'll tell our listeners all about that. But this week's episode is going to be called Hickory, Dickory, Dock. And the reason for that is the In the End Zone team found a new place to watch American football last Sunday, didn't we, Dave?
We did.
We did indeed. Instead of sitting around in our pants at home like we normally do, we found an American football diner called Hickory's, hence the name Hickory Dickory Dock. And we were there last Sunday evening, and we went there to watch the football games, to watch the Red Zone, and it is a great place to go and watch football in the UK. I think they're all over the UK. They're certainly around the Midlands, and I had a quick look as to where other people could maybe go and watch football in the UK. We've got them in Nottingham, Manchester, Liverpool, North Wales. They're all over the place, but go online and search Hickory's. It was good atmosphere, wasn't it, Dave?
Yeah, it was good. 2 buckets of wings for me. That's probably why I've got a double chin. But no, the food was good. Atmosphere was good. Few other NFL fans in there, and Packers fans.
Boo.
Yeah, Patriots fan.
Boo.
Yeah. What was the other dude? What was he?
Dolphins.
Yeah.
Boo.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, they weren't the most of attractive of fans, but at the same time, it was nice to be in a place where other people were respecting the game that is American football. So take a look, have a Google. Hickory's. Me and Dave are definitely going to be in the Nottingham one many more times before the season's over. And it's nice to find a place where you can actually go, have a couple of beers, a few jars, some wings. I had some ribs, some burnt ends. If anybody knows what burnt ends are, they sound grim, but they're amazing. I think it's just offcuts of beef that have been like barbecued and char grilled, but they were immense. And we've now found a new watering hole, haven't we, Dave, for the days that we actually want to put trousers on. Yeah. And not sit around in our pantalons.
Dom occasionally wear a thong, but that's for, again, you'll be glad that you can't see that.
It is. That's for Dave's eyes only.
All sorts going on.
Anyway, we'll stop talking about me in a thong because nobody wants to hear about that. So Hickory Dickory Dock is the episode, and as usual, we're going to be returning segments. Slap or Sign is coming back. On the Clock is coming back, but in the spirit of Christmas. The festive holiday period, which is almost upon us. This week, me and Dave are going to write our Christmas lists to Santa Claus. We'll get to that a little bit later. But before we do that, let's talk news. So, news. A few more things to talk about than we had last week, Dave. But first bit of news is definitely relevant to UK fans. So I don't know if you've heard about this already, but this week, the NFL unveiled 6 teams who will be able to legally market themselves in the UK. Have you heard about this?
No.
No. Okay. So
I just flashed past it a minute ago on Instagram. I didn't look at it.
yeah. So essentially, there are legislations around international marketing rights with big companies like the NFL. And what the NFL have done is they've either paid for or released the rights to allow teams to market themselves in the UK. So obviously the UK team here at the moment is the Jacksonville Jaguars. They come over every year. But the NFL has now given the permission, as well as it must be the UK government or whatever marketing legislations are in place, have also given the green light for the Chicago Bears, the Miami Dolphins, the Minnesota Vikings, the New York Jets, and the San Francisco 49ers can begin international marketing and marketing programs. Essentially, it's part of a long-term strategic effort to enable clubs to build their global followings and global brands in the NFL. So what I can take from that, and its vagueness, is that some of these NFL teams may be coming over to the UK maybe more regularly, a little bit like the Jacksonville Jaguars are. They're going to be able to partner with UK brands and UK companies to be able to work with things like sponsorships and marketing programs and things like that. So we might get a few more players coming over and getting involved in that kind of thing. It's quite exciting, right?
Well, it's a strange list of teams. Do you reckon? Why then?
Yeah, it is a strange list of teams. Bears, Dolphins, Vikings.
But both teams, like Jacksonville's obviously Florida.
Yeah.
Dolphins, Florida. The Jets, obviously. Do you reckon it's teams that have got shit fan bases in America?
It pretty much sounds like the teams
Vikings
that are. The Vikings got a big fan base. The Niners have got a huge fan base.
Yes, I don't get why.
And the Bears apparently have got a very large fan base, albeit a very disappointed one for a long period of time. But
yeah, they're an OG franchise there, so they.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's strange. I think that's a bit poor for the Jags, because the Jags 50% of their fan base is probably in the UK.
Yeah,
everyone comes to the Jags over here, don't they?
That's the only thing they've got to hold on to, isn't it?
Yeah, now they've lost that. They'll come over here and play the Niners every year and get slapped.
Exactly. So, I mean, we're not too sure what that means, and there'll be more following, but I just thought it's definitely relevant for people who are listening to our podcast in the UK, is that the NFL is actively looking to expand and build brands and NFL teams over here in the long term. So that's a win for me. It's a win for In the End Zone UK. We want more of this sport over in the UK, and this is one way towards it. So let's see what it's got to offer. It's just a shame that it's not the Giants or the Seahawks, eh, Dave?
Yeah, I mean, it could have definitely been the Seahawks. I think got fan base. I really. Not the Giants, though.
Sure to eat. I suppose in talking about the Jaguars, the next piece of important news is around the head coach of the Jaguars, or should I say ex-head coach. So Urban Meyer, the now ex-head coach of the Jacksonville Jaguars, has finally been fired. And I say finally, he's not even been in the building for a year yet, and they've ended his contract. Probably for the reasons being, the guy's a douche. The guy's been caught groping women. The guy's been caught kicking players, losing games, just being a general tit. The list goes on, but he is done in Jacksonville. And Dave, do you think that was the right move?
Yeah, I think he'd lost. I reckon the reason they probably got rid of him is he's probably lost the locker room. I was saying before, now the coaches had apparently, all the coaches, all of my assistant coaches had planned a walkout at the end of the season in sort of like protest to his rule as head coach.
Right.
But you can't go around kicking players. I mean, imagine if he kicked Aaron Donald.
No, he'd get absolutely buried.
He ripped his head off, wouldn't he? But
yeah,
I mean,
so if people didn't read about what had happened, is that Urban Meyer already throughout this year has been a questionable coach, to say the least, just in terms of his performance. His locker room capability, as Dave said, when you lose the locker room, that term is basically that your players don't like you, your coaches don't like you, and you're just an all-round twat, basically. But then today was yesterday was the straw that broke the is it the camel's back or the horse's back? I never know.
The camel's back. Why would a straw break a horse's back?
I don't know.
There's no water in a horse's back.
I don't know. I thought, I don't know. Who knows? But either way, it was the last straw. There we go. I was looking for some sort of straw analogy. It was the last straw, and he kicked one of the kickers for the Jaguars team. So he kicked Josh Lambo whilst he was on the floor stretching or something, and said, "You need to start scoring more kicks," or something like that. Gave him a boot, and Josh Lambo stood up and said, "You don't fucking kick me." And he said, "I'll do whatever the fuck I want. I'm the head coach around here." And clearly, he could get away with doing that at college when he's talking to people who are like 16, 17. But when you're walking around booting full-grown men that can probably turn you inside out, that's the last straw in it.
Yeah, and I've got no doubt that he's going to be a college head coach again. Somebody's going to go out and get him because he was successful while he was there. I think he was at Clemson as well. I think he was a head coach. I'm going to look at douche if that's wrong or not. I'm 99% sure that's where
you're probably right though, Dave, to be honest. You're probably right. But
so he's going to get another job, and he's just proven that he can't sort of like handle it at the big level, you know. At least Jim Harbaugh took the Niners to the Super Bowl and then went back to college.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But I think he was caught saying money. He was caught saying after like the first couple of games when they were getting beaten every week, that playing every game in the NFL was like playing the best team in college football every single week.
Yeah.
I didn't expect to come in and be. This is what I mean. Them college teams, they get all the best players come to them, which is why it's so good about that number one recruit going to Deion Sanders' school as opposed to one of the big. He had offers from every team, and he chose a relatively unknown to work with Deion Sanders.
Need more players like him,
yeah,
right?
Yeah,
to make balanced choices.
I think California now, so I think USC and all the California schools, I think they can now, if you go there as a student, you can earn money off your endorsements. So if you can get a trainer deal, or you can they use your likeness on a video game, you can get paid for it. Whereas I don't think you can anywhere else. So hopefully that again spreads some of these good players out, and you get a bit more competitive. Not that we're avid watchers or even watch college football, we just kind of follow it from the sidelines. But I don't even know where I was going with that, but hopefully, I don't want to see him again. So he will never be in the NFL again.
No, he shouldn't be either, because like you said, from the moment he came into the league, he was moaning about how difficult it was. He's not shown any kind of creativity or promise, even though he had arguably the best quarterback out of the draft to be able to mould, shape, play with, and do what he needs to. But here we go, two different coaches. You've got Bill Belichick, who is taking a pudding of a man who's Mac Jones into a potential rookie of the year. And you've got Urban Meyer, who is a creep of a man, taking a superstar quarterback and ruining his first year. So I can pretty much guarantee that if the Patriots had taken Trevor Lawrence, he'd have been able to do everything that Mac Jones is doing right now, and probably 100%, more.
100%. Mac Jones is a dinker and dunker. Like Trevor Lawrence can make all the throws. I was wrong. He was at Florida and then at Ohio State.
Oh, okay, fair.
Yeah.
Well, at least you corrected your mistake, Dave.
Yeah. So nobody bashed me in the comments. Raw, innit? But yeah, no, I think Trevor Lawrence will become a better player with a better head coach, with one that's more, I don't know, the ilk
more suited to NFL, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. You see
the way the NFL plays.
The Mike Tomlin comments.
No, I'm not seeing anything about that.
He needs a coach like him. Basically talking about his responsibilities outside the X's and O's and in developing. They're talking about Claypool, which we're going to talk about later on. But
okay,
he was talking about his development and how he needs to grow up and stuff. But he was basically saying that's his job to provide that.
Yeah.
So that's what Urban Meyer needs
as a head coach,
to,
isn't it?
Yeah, Urban Meyer needs to sit down with Mike Tomlin and get a few lessons in how to be an actual coach instead of just worrying about the wins and losses.
Bottoms.
Yeah, pervy old man.
So that's it. He is out of Jacksonville. And then another piece of news, which we did speak about a couple of weeks ago, but COVID-19 is back and it is rife. It never left. It's in the building. So the NFL had gotten through the first 4 months, I think, 3-4 months of the season with very little COVID-19 cases, a lot of normality. We've had full stadiums, and it's quite quickly come raging back. This week we've got about 100 players that have been testing positive, and that's a record number of cases this season. So and many of those players are actually fully vaccinated, according to the league anyway, and some are pretty ill with it. Some are asymptomatic, so you can't even tell they've got it. They're just testing with it, and some have got mild symptoms. But either way, no matter which way it's affecting players, if they've tested positive, they go straight into COVID protocol and they're out for at least 1 game week. And that's affecting a few teams quite heavily, I think, Dave. I think the Browns are riddled. Pretty sure like about 10 players of the Browns have got it. I know that a lot of the Rams have got it. Tyler Lockett's out in the Seahawks COVID protocol. I don't know if he's got it or if he's been in close contact, but it seems like you're lucky if your team's not being affected by COVID at all.
Yeah, I think we've had a couple of like subs
right
test positive with it, but I've not heard of any Giants players that are out this week that would be, I don't know, a massive worry. We could get beat anyway, so
yeah, I was going to say you could do with one player getting it. Get Mike Glennon to get out there licking doorknobs and lampposts ASAP.
Oh, there's no way on this planet that knob can be caught back in again. But I think Daniel Jones is done for the season, so that might be it.
Daniel Jones is done for the season, is he?
He's not come out yet, but I think he is.
Oh no!
Just shut him down. Trade for Russell Wilson, and then we're good.
Yeah, well, that could very well happen, but that's the news at the moment anyway in the NFL, and the main talking points right now is COVID. So we'll move away from that dark and dismal topic, and we'll go straight into a nice fun one. So we're back with Slap or Sign. Dave, straight into it. I want you to give me your NFC Sign of the week.
NFC Sign is, maybe you signed him last week, Georg Kittle.
Georgo?
Yeah, if he was German, that was his name. George Kittle. I'm signing George Kittle. Wie heißt du? Ich heiße Kittle. That's the limit of my German.
It's pretty good,
he had another amazing week. And I would give anything to have him, or to have a tight end of his caliber holding the line for the Giants. Either on pass blocking, pancaking whoever he wants to pancake down the field. He's just, watching that game, Jimmy Garoppolo is just throwing balls into the ether and Kittle's coming down with them.
Mm-hmm.
Just because he trusts Kittle's going to be there and make the catch. And my God, he's at about, 330 yards in the last
2 games or something.
2 games?
Yeah. Yeah. He put 180 up against the Seahawks, and I think he had like 150 or 130 in the next one.
He's unbelievable.
That's unreal numbers for a tight end.
Yeah, and so I would love a George Kittle in a Giants uniform. However, we have not got one.
No.
So yeah, George Kittle.
Yeah, I did sign him last week, and
it
definitely, there's a reason for it. You know, it takes a lot for me to want to sign a Niners player, let's put it that way. But he's an animal, and like you say, he can do it all. The last 2 games, he has come down with anything that's come anywhere near him. The only disappointing part to his game is that he struggles to stay healthy.
Yeah.
So
if he could put a full season out, it'd be unbelievable.
Yeah. What a monster. So George Kittle is your NFC sign. What about your NFC slap?
We've mentioned him. He is bald. He stands 6'7". He is a man by the name
Is it me?
of Mike. No, Mike Glennon,
Oh dear.
or as I like to call him, Mike Glenmong, because he is awful. I feel like I need to bring the stats up to talk about how poor
Yeah,
he is.
so Mike Glennon, Dave's slapping him. He plays for Dave's team. That's the Giants. He probably won't be next season. More likely won't be.
Absolutely not. There's no chance. He's the backup quarterback for the Giants. Daniel Jones is out with a neck injury. Doesn't look like he's playing again this week, except the third week he's out. We signed Jake Fromm from the Bills practice squad as a backup to him, and I 100% want to see him out this week. I cannot stand Mike Glennon. He missed so many open receivers. I mean, we got drilled in the game, but it would have been less of a drilling if he could have managed to just move the chains with some of the easy passes that he missed. He was throwing behind people, just missing completely wide open receivers, and you can't afford to do that when you're playing it. I mean, I'm going to go on to the Giants in a little bit and talk about how pathetic they were, especially the defense. But Mike Glenn, when you've got a defense that's struggling to slow down a quarterback, your quarterback needs to be, firstly, making passes with more 3 and outs than I can shake a shitty stick at. And his 191 yards is a pathetic effort when your team's down by 37 points or whatever it was we're losing by. He went half an hour about putting a point up in this game. He's awful. We should have kept hold of Colt McCoy, who at least won some games last year for us when Daniel Jones was out.
Yeah, he's a good backup. He's come in and even won some games for the Cardinals as well. So he's
So it's worth paying the money to somebody who, when you know, like the Seahawks don't have to pay good money to a good backup because Russell Wilson's never out.
Apart from this year.
Before this, we never had to because Eli Manning never missed a game. Didn't miss one game in his career through injury. And now I've got Daniel Jones who's missing 4 games a year. You need to have a solid backup. Yeah. You need to have a Mitch Trubisky. You need to have a Nick Foles. Somebody who can actually win a game. This Glennon is a creature and he is completely and utterly out of the league after the season. He should be gone now. I would cut him now. Even if it meant us taking a $5 million, no, I wouldn't. I'd keep him, but we should cut him.
Yeah.
Give Jake Fromm a go. You don't know what he's going to be. He's never played a game in the NFL. But I know exactly what I'm getting with Mike Glennon. I don't know what I'm getting with Fromm. And I'll take the mystery.
Okay. Yeah, I've got no comments on Glennon. He's shit, and he should probably go throw a fur tarpaulin over his shoulders and pretend to be a giraffe.
Yeah, he needs to.
The local New York City Zoo.
He needs to get gone.
Okay, so NFC done. AFC, who are you going to sign?
I'm going to sign Joas Burrows.
Joas Burrows, yeah. Signed him before. He is class.
He's having a really good season. He had a good season last year, didn't he? But before he got injured. But to come off an injury like he has and play the way that he's been playing, ultimately they lost this week. But he threw 348 yards, so 350 yards, 2 touchdowns, missed 9 passes.
Yeah, sufficient.
He's easily the best quarterback. I mean, I would rather have him than have Kyler Murray. I would love to know what he would do with Kyler Murray's team. Kyler Murray's doing well with it, so imagine a quarterback who can actually stand in the pocket and throw. Can read his defense. He doesn't have to scramble around till his fantastic wide receivers become open. Obviously, he's got Jamar Chase with him now, which he's happy about. So Burrows, he looks like he's going to be a quarterback for the next sort of 12, 13 years. He's going to be around for.
He is.
I don't mind watching him.
No, I actually really like watching him, and he's an exciting quarterback with a strong arm, makes good decisions. He can move as well. He doesn't do a lot of it, but he can when he needs to. But it seems to me like he uses his mind first, which is a rarity at the moment with young quarterbacks, isn't it? They usually panic and then go into legs first and run around like headless chickens and get snapped in half, whereas he seems to, even last season to his detriment, stand in that pocket ready and waiting to sling that ball. And he's got a class arm, lovely touch on the ball, power on the, I think he's like a, obviously it's a long way to say it, but he looks like a sort of Brady, Peyton Manning, Aaron Rodgers-esque type player. Like, he can make all the throws and he's smart with it. So, not saying he's definitely going to be a Hall of Famer like those three are, but I feel like he's got the potential to.
Yeah, I think I definitely prefer him of all the quarterbacks that are out at the minute that have come out in the last sort of like 3 or 4 years. I think I would prefer to have him. I'd have him over Herbert.
I think about Herbert, Baker, Jalen Hurts. Kyler Murray would be a questionable 100%. One, but yeah, I mean, can you imagine him at the Colts? Put him at the Colts.
Yeah.
Be dirty.
So that cool. Is who
Joe
I'm
Burrow
signing AFC.
For the Bengalis. And then your final AFC slap.
The best till last. I'm slapping Chase Claypool. And everybody who watched football this weekend will understand why. The man is a douche. He's taken at, like, I don't know what it is with Steelers wide receivers from Antonio Brown, acted the clown all the time in Pittsburgh, to Juju Smith-Schuster, who thought he was the absolute dog's dick when Antonio Brown was drawing every double team in the world and he was open, getting 100 yards a game. What's he done since Antonio Brown left? Nada. Nothing.
Oh, no, he's done something. He's done shitloads of TikToks.
Yeah. And look who he's taken under his wing. Claypool. Claypool is a knob. He potentially cost them the game this week. Firstly, he got a 15-yard taunting penalty in the first half by putting his ratty little fingers inside or pointing another bloke's face. That got him benched and briefed up by Mike Tomlin. And then with the game on the line, Big Ben, don't know how he's doing it. He's mustering his crusty old cellulite ridden body down the field, marching his men down. Claypool catches a slant, but then rather than running the ball back to get, because they've got no timeout, so running the ball back to get it snapped, the melt rolls around on the floor, does his stupid first down celebration, gets up. The centres ran over to him, the centres had a shit game as well, but the centres ran over to him to grab the ball, to get it back, to give it to the ref to snap it. And as he's tried to grab it, he's knocked it away. And then Claypool was whinging about that. They finally get it snapped, get the ball spiked. But he's cost them 12, 13 seconds. And on the last play, at least one play, the last play to Freiermuth, their tight end, that play took like 4 seconds. If you think he'd have at least 2 attempts at the same sort of slant or whatever he's going to play.
And it was close as well, he nearly caught it.
It was a hellacious tackle that knocked it out. But that's why he's getting slapped. He's a dick. He does it all the time. And then to make matters worse, in the press conference afterwards, he blames the centre who's running to get the ball. And that's what I'm saying about.
It's on video, isn't it? It's plain as day to see who the issue was with. And it was obviously Claypool. Like, I couldn't believe it. I didn't watch it live, but when you told me and when I spoke to you in the morning, you were like, I already know I'm slapping this week. And I was like, what for? And then I saw it and I thought, what a gimp. Like, the difference between elite players like Larry Fitzgerald, who is famously known for grabbing hold of a ball, running it back to the middle of the pitch, putting it down for the referee, getting the team set. He's a wide receiver. He's not a quarterback, but he's doing that to get the win. And Claypool's more bothered about pointing at the crowd and making sure he's got an extra 3 TikTok followers at the end of the day. What a prick.
It's the intangibles that make people great, and he will never be great. He will never be as good as Antonio Brown at the Steelers. He's got what? He's 6'4". He's built like an absolute animal. Got everything you could possibly want to be a wide receiver in the NFL, apart from the one thing that actually matters, which made Larry Fitzgerald, DeAndre Hopkins, and all they aren't specimens. They're quite slight guys. They're not the fastest people. They're clever. Devontae Adams, again, not the fastest person, but what can he do? Mm-hmm. He probably sits there watching film, realising what these cornerbacks are doing, and they burn him off the line.
Mm-hmm.
And then they get open. It's the brain between the ears where idiots like him will never. I will be shocked if he's in the league in 4 years.
Mm.
I don't think people will take a chance on him because he's a knob. Same as Juju. Juju apparently took less money to go back to the Steelers, did he? Or did nobody want him?
Mm-hmm.
Because they don't want to deal with the bullshit that comes with receivers like that. But yeah, you're right. The plays where that's from like last year. That is Hopkins catching a ball, being on the floor, throwing the ball to Larry Fitzgerald so he can run the ball in quick while he's still on the floor. You don't get that with them. The sense of urgency is not with him because you're right. All he cares about is he's got like an I mentality, not a we mentality.
Yeah, definitely.
He's not a team first guy, and I would definitely not want. If I saw a Giants player, if that could have been anybody, if I said it. Well, like last year when Golden Tate was being a little bitch because he wasn't getting the ball thrown to him. Who cares? I don't care about your stats. Couldn't care less. I mean, Brady probably does care a little bit because he's trying to win the MVP, but ultimately, he's not bothered. Mac Jones.
A win's a win, isn't it?
Mac Jones will run the ball 40 times, pass it 3 times because he doesn't give a shit about stats, cares about wins. Claypool ain't like that.
No.
Knobhead.
Slapped.
Full on.
Nice, done.
Yep. Rant over. I'll stop talking for a little bit. Dom, who are you going to slap from the NFC?
I'm not sure I understand.
Siri doesn't know. Siri's just logging off.
Siri is not sure she understands.
No.
And my slap from the NFC is probably going to be one that doesn't come to your liking, Dave. I am going to slap Saquon Barkley.
Okay.
Okay, I'm going to slap Saquon Barkley just because, I mean, this is a Giants player. He's a running back and he is a potential superstar and has been a superstar previously. But he's just not piecing it together the way that I expected him to this year. Part of my slap is in frustration with fantasy. I have to say that because I drafted him early thinking that he was going to have a return to form season and he didn't. And that has, caused me many fantasy issues. But at the same time, it's not even that. Like, I used to like watching the Giants because he played there, like that was one of the highlights of watching the Giants on offense because you think, okay, Saquon's going to bust a 70-yarder or a 50-yarder or a 60-yarder. Every week you'd get one. And yes, he's had injuries and a fair few of them as well, but it does beg the question. To me now, it starts begging the question. He's had a fair amount of time to recover from a high ankle sprain. He had to come back from an ACL. Those things are difficult to come back from, but the man is a shithouse. He obviously trains hard, looks after his body in the off season. Why is he not coming back and doing bits? He had, I think, 16 or 17 rush attempts this week for 60 yards. So it's not the worst number. You're not talking like, he's not doing an RG Harris at 2.9 yards a carry, but he's doing a three and a bit yards a carry or 4 yards a carry, which you'd take all day if that's all you were doing, but it's not good enough from Saquon. He needs to pop big runs and show that he's still got that electricity and that potential to run through people or round people or catch out the backfield. And I think he's had one game this year where he had 2 touchdowns, and I got a little bit excited, and you probably got very excited. But yeah, I'm just slapping him because I feel like either it's his fault and he just needs to take a bit more responsibility on his shoulders to say, "Give me the ball, I'm ready," or maybe the coaches aren't seeing something that they want to see from him. But for the Giants to be competitive, especially with the current quarterback situation, Saquon needs to be that bell cow, that 3-down back that he's always been, to be able to take them through. He should be able to make a difference in games. He should be somebody that you look on the other side of the ball and go, uh-oh, that's Saquon Barkley. Like, uh-oh, that's Christian McCaffrey. Or, uh-oh, that's Derrick Henry. You got to try and get your offense running through him. Even with Daniel Jones, even if Daniel Jones was playing and he was healthy, it just helps your offense.
Yeah. The only thing I would say to defend him is our O-line shit. We've got the worst O-line in the league, which isn't going to create the holes that Jonathan Taylor's getting at the Colts, where he's got the best. But I don't believe for a second that Jonathan Taylor's the best running back in the league. I just think he's got the best situation. But what I'll say about Barkley is, because I'm as frustrated, I'm way more frustrated than, you know what I mean? Today on Instagram, he put up a post with a picture of a ball that he got in his rookie season, and it was the most receptions that a rookie running back had at like 87 or whatever it was. Dude, that was about 4 years ago. How about put up a ball from last week where you went for 180 yards, scored 4 touchdowns? Like I don't give a flying monkey's crap what you did in your rookie season. Yeah, it was great. You had like 1,000. You went for 2,000 scrimmage yards, whatever. That's great. You've not put 2,000 together in the 3 years that have followed it. And I know you've had an ACL surgery, and I know then you've had like a high ankle sprain or an ankle sprain or whatever it is. He came out this week and said he wants to be a Giant forever. Yeah, that's lovely. But you ain't going to be a Giant forever, because we ain't going to pay you money if your production isn't going to be what it used to be or what we expect you. He was taken second overall. This is a contract year for him.
Yeah.
He'd be lucky if he gets $8 million a season.
Oh, definitely, because
the way he's
mustering at best 60 yards a game.
Yeah.
And you could get that from third round, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh round running backs.
If we'd have played Devontae Booker the whole season, he would have as much yards as what Barkley's had. Yeah. He's not been anything special. And I appreciate, again, the O-line shit. You've had mixed quarterbacks. You've gone through, the offensive coordinators have changed. But Freddie Kitchens is good for getting running backs going. He had Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt for a year, like 2 years or whatever. So he knows what he's doing with them receiving backs. Yeah, I feel like he's been putting it together a little bit the last couple of games where he's looked a little bit more. He's hit a hole and gone for 20 yards. Yeah. And I feel like it's only a matter of time before he breaks, because he led the league before, I think, the start of the season. He led the league in like 40 plus yard runs.
Well, that's what I mean. That's what you used to see it week in, week out.
But all that was from his first and second season. He's done nothing for the last 2 years.
Exactly.
So, no, I'm with you. As much as he's a Giants player, I definitely need to see more from him, because what he's putting up at the minute, and he probably knows it because the media are on him all the time, isn't good enough. And I think if anyone should have a chip on the shoulder, it should be him.
For sure. So that's my slap. Saquon. Take it.
Who's your sign?
My sign is also a running back. This week, I mean, I make a habit of signing running backs, and that's because of our situation in Seattle being so fucking terrible. But this week, I am signing Dalvin Cook.
Oh my God.
So, yeah, I mean, you spoke to me about it the other morning after watching the Steelers game, and then I watched it and saw what you meant. That guy is just another species. I think his get off, his acceleration from like 0 to 60 is like 2 steps. It's like Christian McCaffrey-esque, apart from this guy is a shithouse and is really tough to bring down as well. Not that Christian McCaffrey is easy to bring down, but Dalvin Cook just runs hard and accelerates fast. And you can tell the difference because they've got 2 running backs, haven't they? They've got obviously Dalvin Cook and then Alexander Mattison. And they both look very similar because they've got dreads, and you can't see the number on their back sometimes because the dreads are going down, and you can tell when it's Madison and when it's Dalvin Cook, because Madison looks like he's running in fucking toffee, and Dalvin Cook runs like he's got a full-on like Harrier jet up his arsehole, because he just takes off through gaps. And to his detriment, I don't think he looks after himself very well. I think he clatters into people with no regard of his well-being, which you see every single season has an impact, because he ends up going down with a shoulder injury or arm injury or leg injury or whatever. But when he can put a whole game together, like he did against the Steelers defense historically is not an easy one to run against. He had 205 yards on the ground, 2 touchdowns, accelerating through every gap possible. And, I mean, it's just a luxury, man. That's a luxury, that is. To have a player like him is a pure luxury. The Vikings are spoiled.
It's ridiculous.
And they still can't do much with it.
It's ridiculous. And watching him, you're right. I mean, I had a vested interest in this because I had Madison as my fantasy running back. And I knew that Cook had been injured. And they said, he's probably not going to take that many snaps. I was like, do you know what? I'll keep Madison in. And then I think that whole game plan changed when after the first quarter, I bet you if you look back at it, after the first quarter, he did 100 yards.
Yeah.
I think he did all his damage in the first half. And then they started to throw the ball for some reason. And like you say, the difference, so the only difference I could tell between him and Madison, like looks-wise, was the colour of the boots. Until, I think one was wearing green, one was wearing purple. Until they started running. Dalvin Cook is I think he must be the fastest I've seen from when he gets the ball to hitting a hole. I don't think I've seen anyone quicker. So, like, phenomenally powerful off the mark. And then Madison, bear in mind that every game he's played where Cook hasn't played, he's had over 100 yards. So he ain't no slouch.
No.
But when you compare the two, it's like watching the Big Show run behind. Just some lumbering oaf.
Yeah.
He is made to look slow by how quick Cook is. And
he's class.
He's a specimen. And you're right, another one. If he could keep himself healthy, he'd be up there every year with Derrick Henry for the rushing title.
Yeah. And that's it. And that's why I'm taking him, because the Seahawks need a running back that you can actually run an offense through.
Did yours have 2 touchdowns?
Penny? Our running back?
Penny had 2 touchdowns this week.
Oh, yeah, no, he had a great day. Yeah. Rashard Penny, 2 touchdowns and about 180 yards, yeah. But
and his brother, Elijah Penny, had a touchdown for the Giants.
Oh, there we go. Some positives come out of mine and Dave's teams every so often. The Penny brothers.
Yeah.
But no, I would take Dalvin Cook a million times over Rashard Penny, who was a first-round pick, FYI.
Lol.
Yeah.
Right, AFC, who are you going to sign?
AFC, I am signing, and it's been a while. I don't even know if I've signed him this year. But this week, game week 14, poddy 15, I am signing Patrick Mahomes.
Oh, damn.
He's back, baby. Patrick Mahomes is getting a sign. And for the first time, I can feel comfortable in signing him because the Chiefs look like they're stringing it together. And I've said it for a long time, and I was never down on the Chiefs, even when they were down on themselves. Mahomes didn't have a phenomenal game this week. I mean, he had a very good game, but we're talking, he had, I think it was 260 yards, 2 touchdowns, which is, as a quarterback goes, it's pretty average. But he made no mistakes, no errors. He put the ball where he needed to. He made some lovely sort of jumping throws, cross-body throws, as he always does, and everyone loses their shit about it. I'm not losing my shit about it. I'm just saying he's playing football the way that Mahomes normally plays football. And if Mahomes can play normal football by his standard, the Chiefs have got every chance of winning every week. And he just looks great. Like he got everybody involved. Tyreek Hill. The Chiefs are slowly getting a little bit more dynamic. They're involving more players. I think at the start of the season, it was just target Kels, target Hill, target Kels, target Hill. And teams were able to just shut them down. And now you're getting many more players involved. I mean, for God's sake, Josh Gordon had a touchdown this week. Absolutely nuts. First touchdown to him, thrown to him by Patrick Mahomes. I'm surprised that he's not already been binned off for drugs. But if you've got that capability, Josh Gordon catches a touchdown, Mecole Hardman's catching passes, Byron Pringle's catching passes. They're all rapid. And then you've got Travis Kelce, who's now starting to make a little bit more of a dent. You've got Tyreek Hill, who's always doing bits. Clyde Edwards-Helaire came alive this week on the ground as well. Darrell Williams came alive again. And it just feels like the Chiefs, at the right time of the season, and I'm probably going to jinx them here, but I don't know, are just starting to pull it together. And I love Mahomes, and it's nice to see him like actually playing to his kind of potential. So this week I'm signing him, and I'm not going to go as far to say as I think that the Chiefs are, unstoppable, unbeatable like they have been, but they are definitely worth talking about in the AFC again. They are relevant as fuck.
Yeah, I'll agree. I mean, I think Mahomes is a bum all, but I'll agree that I think he's spoiled with what he's got. I think people were ready to crown him the best player to ever play in the NFL, and then he's a shit year and nobody talks about him.
Yeah.
That's how quickly people's opinions change on the matter, but he's obviously getting them back now. He's making less mistakes than what it was at the start of the season. You're right, the Chiefs are putting it together. They're putting it together at the right time and towards the tail end of the season. So they're starting to get the shit tied up tight at the end of the season, whereas the Bucs, who looked amazing start of the season, they ain't looking so great at the minute. Mm-hmm. They're making a lot more of them mistakes, but Brady's throwing the odd interception now, you know what I mean? So their games are getting a little bit closer. And what I would say massively goes in the favour of the Chiefs. The AFC ain't nowhere near as strong as the NFC.
No.
So whereas if Rodgers is to get to the Super Bowl, he's got to go through Brady. Do you know what I mean? There's some tough teams in the NFC. The Cowboys aren't a walkover. There's a lot of tough teams in the NFC, whereas the AFC, who have they really got? The Bills, but the Bills don't look great. The Ravens, Lamar
shit.
Jackson's hurt. The Steelers, they're dog
looking shit.
The
Browns
Bengals
looking shit. Bengals looking average.
They're all trending in the wrong direction, whereas the Chiefs are climbing.
Yeah.
So they've got a good shot of getting back to that AFC Championship game and potentially the Super Bowl because they've got inferior opposition to play against. Whereas if you look in the NFC, the Packers, the Bucs, the Rams, the Cardinals, the there's
Cowboys.
There's any amount of teams that are good. Even the Vikings, for some reason, are pretty good at the minute. So I think he may be blessed there that might get him to the promised land, but we shall see.
That's it. So he's my sign.
Happy days. And then your slap from the AFC.
Yeah. So this one we've kind of covered, so it's not a surprise, but I had already marked it to be slapped before he'd even been fired, so I'm slapping Urban Meyer. The Jaguars got shut out again this week, so that was actually the reason why I was slapping him, because the Jaguars got shut out by the Titans. It was Jaguars 0, Titans 20, and again, that stat line that I say that you always see from Trevor Lawrence, it's about 270 to 200 yards with no touchdowns, and I think that just shows just lack of leadership, creativity, coaching. You can't get the job done. Obviously, it comes down to players' performance as well, but when you've got somebody like Lawrence, who is apparently and has shown he can score many touchdowns in his career, it's got to come down to somebody, in it, and it comes down to that like shaved mole-looking kind of person that is Urban Meyer. And he doesn't even look like a mole; he looks like a shaved ferret. And yeah, he's been fired, so I don't really need to go into it anymore. He's not won a game. He has won a game, but he's not won many. I think it's 2, is it?
Yeah, they've
won 2 games. They've lost 11. The games that they won were not convincing. They've week by week been dominated. Trevor Lawrence has been shut out numerous times or held to minimal points. The locker room don't like Urban Meyer. The guy looks like a shaved weasel. He likes touching women in inappropriate times and places, even though he's married. He's kicking his football players, his own people. He's, telling his own coaches they're shit. He's blaming everyone else. He's pointing the finger. Basically, the guy's he's a college coach. He acts like one. He acts like he should be in college and that he's got a God complex. And he's been clearly severely outcoached in the NFL. And you love to see it because these guys do what they do because they're good at it. And it's nice to see that actually these guys who think they can just waltz into the NFL and give it Barry Big Bollocks doesn't always work. And I'm glad. I'm really glad. Because the difference between him and like somebody like Bill Belichick or even Pete Carroll, you know, we dominated the Jags this year and we've been toss. It's just, there's a chasm and it's good. So go back to college.
Yeah. He's, there's definitely levels to coaching and he's found where his is. I'm afraid it's one of those things. It's easy when you've got the best players week in, week out, and then you only really need to worry about coaching when you're in the playoffs and the college playoffs. Mm-hmm. There's only 4 teams that get there, so you've got a 50% chance of getting to the playoffs anyway, to the God Bowl anyway, or whatever it's called. And like you say, Trevor Lawrence clearly isn't shit. He was touted as being the best prospect coming out of college since Andrew Luck, you know, and now he's they're obviously the playbook shit, but he would have brought all his coaches in with him from college or whatever.
Yeah, I'm sure.
He basically needed somebody next to him to be like, you're going to make a decision today. Yeah, what is it? Oh, I'm going to bring Team Tebow back. You could do, or don't, because Tebow wasn't a good quarterback. Everyone figured him out dead quick. And now he wants to play tight end. Do you really think that's a good idea? Yeah, but he's built like a tight end. Yeah, but don't do it.
Yeah, but so am I.
Yeah. So that's what he needed. He didn't get that. Hopefully the Jags get somebody who's a bit more offensive minded, because Lawrence is better than this.
Yeah.
Daniel Jones in his rookie season threw 24 touchdowns and 12 interceptions. Trevor Lawrence is better than him, and he's having a statistically worse season than him. So, I don't know. Yeah. I'm going to throw just a quick one out there. I have another NFC slap.
Okay.
But I'm not going to, we're not going to talk about it now. It's Micah Parsons. We're going to talk about it when we talk about their game.
Okay. You going to slap Micah Parsons?
So hard.
Okay. All right. Let's get there then. Let's get there because we're on our way. So that was the end of the majority of slap or sign, but Dave's got a little crisp surprise up his sleeve. So we're now going to move swiftly on to On the Clock. On the Clock, we're going to do a roundup of the games that were played in the NFL this week, the games that we watched from Hickory's in Nottingham, drinking all the beer, eating all the ribs. So, On the Clock, we didn't have games this week from the Colts, the Dolphins, the Patriots, the Eagles. That's Indianapolis, Miami, New England, and Philadelphia. These teams were all on a bye week, so we can talk about the first game that was played, and that first game was played on Thursday night, and that was between the Steelers and the Vikings. Dave, we've covered this game a little bit because we've spoken about some players that were involved, Dalvin Cook and Chase Claypool, but the Vikings managed to squeak a win over the Steelers, which should have been a resounding battering because the Vikings went in to the final quarter 29 points up and conceded 21 points against the Steelers in the fourth. Got a lot closer than it should have been, but the Steelers still lost. They fall to 6-6-1. So that's 6 wins, 6 losses and 1 draw. And the Vikings managed to rise to 6-7. Good game, bad game?
I thought it was a good game.
Yeah, I did as well.
So, as I predicted, the prediction was wrong because I said that the Steelers wouldn't score a point for the first quarter and a half. They actually didn't score a point for the first 2 quarters. They didn't score 1 point yet again for the first half because they're shit. So I don't know what it is. They come out, they don't come out flat. They come out, I don't know, they just basically they go, right, we must be good. So we're going to give the opposition at least a 2 or 3 touchdown lead before we start pulling a finger out of our arse and having a go at it. The Vikings could have easily won this. I don't even think the Steelers would have put a point up if the Vikings had just carried on running the ball. They stopped at half time and Kirk Cousins started throwing the ball and he threw 2 interceptions. I don't know why they didn't just continue running.
Like they gave him a chance. Obviously. It's like they gave him a chance. That's what it felt like when I was watching it. It felt like, do you know what, guys? Feel sorry for the Steelers. Let's just throw the ball. It's like when you're battering somebody on Madden. It's basically when I'm playing Cam on Madden. I'm winning so heavily that I just think, do you know what? I'm just going to start throwing the ball willy-nilly.
They were that bad in the second half. They made Big Ben look good. That's how bad they were.
And that
they finished with 308 yards, 3 touchdowns and 1 interception. It could have been 4 if that little gimp Claypool hadn't have finded a bath at the end. But alas, that's it. It was good. They ran the Steelers couldn't stop the run. There was nothing they could do to stop the run. They were putting 7 in the box and they still could not stop him. The Vikings O-line bullied the Steelers defensive line.
Mm-hmm.
The offensive line crushed the Steelers defensive line, and Dalvin Cook just waltzed. Yeah, he didn't really waltz. He moved at the speed of 1,000 gazelles through every tiny gap he could see. And off he went galloping down the pitch, ruining my fantasy hopes for the week. The prick.
I love that. The speed of 1,000 gazelles.
Yeah,
and the difference between the two, I slapped him a couple of weeks ago and have not been impressed with him at all this year. But Najee Harris, their superstar running back, look at the difference between them two. You got both of them taking 20 plus snaps. Dalvin Cook's got 205 yards to Najee's 90 something. I think, just shows the difference in caliber between the players.
Yeah, but they said it at the season. They said it in the draft. Why would you? They drafted a running back. Yeah, they probably needed one, but they drafted a running back and gave away all the piece of the offensive line. So the one thing to make a running back successful is having a strong offensive line to create the gaps for them to run through.
Mm.
They got rid of all the good players and signed a running back and just like, yeah, we've got some absolute B-class players. We'll just stick them in there.
Yeah. And that's what happens. Steelers, you lose. You lose over and over again and then draw. Okay, moving on. And this game was a good game, but it's probably not one that needs to be delved into too heavily. This was the Chicago Bears taking on the Green Bay Packers. So the Bears went into the Packers' house and they actually did better than I thought they would. They put up more points than I thought they would, but they did it in a different manner. The Bears scored 30 points and the Packers scored 45. Bears fall to 4-9 and the Packers rise to 10-3 in the NFC North. The key element to this game was the one that you texted me about, Dave, saying watch this game because I was working and I didn't have a chance. But there's 45 points scored in the second quarter. How nuts is that?
I couldn't believe it. So it was So the Bears get drilled this game, basically, if they don't get a muff punt, which they took for a touchdown, but I think it got pulled back, and then they returned a punt for a touchdown. I think that was the first punt return of the season for a touchdown, which obviously gave them some points and gave them a bit of a lifeline. But it was like every time they punted the ball to this one youth, he just got 40 yards every time. Like he had an unbelievable game. But I think the takeaway, but Rodgers was flawless.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, we give him shit, but by God, if he was on the Giants, I would literally be sucking him off every week. He's a phenom when it comes to he owns them, that's for sure. There was no doubt about that. Justin Fields, through 2 interceptions, looked lost at times. Mm-hmm. Rodgers, just 341 yards, 4 touchdowns. He missed, 8 passes? It was 29 of 37.
No, it's beastie numbers. And we do give him a lot of shit, but as a player, and this is where I've always said, as a player, Aaron Rodgers is spectacular. Like, spectacular. He's clever. He's concise. His arm talent is potentially unrivaled. And
I think, player-wise, I think he's the best quarterback that there's probably ever been.
Right.
I don't think he's maybe not like talent-wise. So talent-wise, arm talent, athlete ability, he pisses all over Brady. Yeah. Brady's probably got it. I mean, Brady's probably had better teams over the years than what Rodgers has had. And Brady's probably got it a little bit more between the ears and got the situation wherever he's been tied up tight in it. The Patriots was an organisation where, I mean, he had Randy Moss. He's had some. Yeah. Rodgers has never really had that Gronk tight end, has he? Where he's got that dependable tight end for 10 years.
No.
And that, I mean, I don't know how long he had Randy Moss for before they got rid of him, but they never won a Super Bowl with him. No. And I don't want to say that Devontae Adams is better than Randy Moss, but when he throws a ball to Randy Moss, wrong. When he throws a ball to Devontae Adams, it's like the ball's got a magnet in it.
Yeah.
And he just hits him, banging his hands, and he just runs off of it. That understanding that them two have got is something else.
Yeah, Adams had 10 receptions for 120 yards and 2 touchdowns in this game. So, and that's pretty standard numbers for him.
Has anybody been better at the line of scrimmage than Aaron Rodgers? Maybe Peyton Manning.
Maybe
the ability to just call out everything. I mean, Brady does it as well, and they get it when they've been in the league so long. But nobody can control that cadence better than Rodgers. He makes everybody jump off. I don't care how much of a veteran they are. He'll make them jump offside.
Yeah, he's great. He is great. He is. As a player, he's phenomenal. As a person, less so. But I respect his game and fair fucks. So Packers glide through the NFC at the moment, looking like potentially the best team. Definitely one of. Next game was the 49ers, San Francisco, taking on the Cincinnati Bengals. So the Niners, they rise to 6-6 with a win against the Bengals in overtime, and the Bengals fall to 7-6. So
no,
Bengals
both 7-6.
Are they?
Yeah, it says on here.
Oh, I've got Niners at 6-6 on here.
I'll find out.
Yeah, you're probably right, but yeah, either way, both teams put up a good fight against each other. The game finished 26-23 in overtime. It was a pair of field goals that split the difference, and then the Niners managed to just get it done. This was another game that the Bengals had been involved in where they were just sort of begging the other team to beat them, which was a shame because Burrow had a good game, and Jimmy Garoppolo just had George Kittle, basically, and that's the difference between the two. But the Bengals did really well, and I really wanted them to win because for the Bengals to have won that, they'd have gone to 8 wins, and the Niners would have fell back into contention for the Seahawks to potentially catch them in the NFC West. But unfortunately, they didn't. And is it 6-6, Dave, or is it 7-6?
7-6.
7-6. Okay, my bad. So the Niners have got 7 wins, and the Bengals have got 7 wins, and that was the tale of the tape, really. Just went into overtime, and it was who could get the most points or the points last, basically. Moving on, we had the terrible game, which was the Detroit Lions taking on the Denver Broncos. The Detroit Lions lost this one, as per usual, 10-38. They only conceded 10 points in the second quarter. They were shut out of the first, third and fourth. 0 points to the Broncos, 14-3, 14-7. Broncos dominated on every aspect of the ball. Jared Goff had an absolute stinker after coming off one of his better weeks. And the Broncos are just an average team, aren't they? They just every week, I feel like they win, they lose, they win, they lose, they win, they lose, they win, they lose. Lions, it's like, they lose, they lose, they lose, they lose, they lose, they lose, they draw, they lose, they lose, they lose, they win, they lose. Like, that's it. It's done. Lions season is so over. Jared Goff needs to disappear. He's not the answer in Lions country.
What do you do if you're them though? What?
I honestly don't know.
Because they're going to have what? They're going to have the number one.
Number one pick in the NFL this year.
So what are they going to do with that?
But there's no quarterbacks in this next draft, so.
I'd stay with him, I think, and then
stay with Goff.
But who'd you sign?
Well, they took an amazing left tackle in the most recent draft, so their offensive line's not horrendous. He's not getting sacked like all over the place. They need skill position players, but their defense is fucking crap as well.
Yeah, they're going to take a pass rush, aren't they? I reckon.
They probably need to. What's that? Gregory Rousseau, was it? Is he the top?
I think Hutchinson maybe is I think it's between the Hutchinson and Gregory Rousseau. Yeah, I think they're the top two.
The Lions need something exciting on defense. You know what I mean? To just try and get some turnovers or stop getting pounded on every week. Because, excuse me, sorry, that's the beer. But the Broncos putting 38 points on you with like 10 points in return in the second quarter is just pathetic. It's literally pathetic because the Broncos are not good.
No, shitters.
No, and that's all we need to say about that. Good luck in the draft, Lions. You need to do something. One of the bigger games of the week, the Buffalo Bills taking on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. This was a game, actually. Really, really good football. Obviously, it was going to be good football. The GOAT, Tom Brady's playing TB12, playing in Florida for the Buccaneers against the Bills team, who have been kind of hot and cold in the last few weeks, but they've definitely got the capacity to be good. And this one finished Buccaneers 33, Bills 27, but they managed to take them to overtime with a last-ditch performance from the Bills, wasn't it?
Yeah, have you seen the score? So the Bucs scored 7 in the first quarter, 17 in the second, nothing in the third, 3 in the fourth. The Bills scored the exact same amount of points.
But the opposite way.
Obviously, yeah. So like in the first half, the Buffalo Bills scored 3 points. In the second half, the Bucs scored 3 points.
Yeah.
But it's mad. The way that 7 and then 17, 7 and then 17.
Yeah. And then eventually the walk-off touchdown.
The little things amuse me. Yeah, I thought well, obviously when you go into the half 24-3 up, you probably take the foot off the gas a little bit, but like you don't take it all the way off where you then only score 3 points in the next 30 minutes of the game.
Yeah.
The Bills are just showing that they're a team that, I mean, how much did he rush for? He rushed for 100, Josh Allen rushed for 109 yards as well as throwing for 308. So he basically did it. At one point, they had no rush attempts apart from him.
Yeah.
And they've got what, 2 or 3? They've got like 3 running backs.
Yeah, Devinson and Gultree, Zach Moss, and one other.
Breeder. Yeah. And they didn't use any of them, just rushed Josh Allen.
I mean, it was working. 109 yards on the ground is a lot for a quarterback. It's
strange, isn't it, though, that you can't risk, because I think these teams have such short memories. If Josh Allen gets injured, you're putting Mitchell Trubisky in to win, to back him up. Do you know what I mean? And there are light years between them two quarterbacks. So, do you know what I mean? And he left the building in a walking boot. So
did he?
Yeah. So maybe don't rush him up 100 times just to beat a team.
Yeah. No, I hear you. And I mean, they had to try and make a game of it. And I think a little bit like they maybe felt that their season was on the line, but certainly the way in which they entered the playoffs with a win. If they'd have gone in now 8-5 instead of 7-6, that would have looked a lot nicer for the Bills. And it was kind of like, I kind of saw that game as a little bit of a, like an NFC championship type thing. I know they're both in NFC, AFC, but it felt like a mini Super Bowl or something because both teams are capable and you saw that they both had the opportunity to win, but it eventually came down to, in overtime, Tom Brady just slinging a walk-off fucking, 60-yarder or something, like an absolute boss. And that's just the way that he just deals with his business. And it's like, cheers for playing, Josh Allen. Really appreciate it. But, I'm taking this one, pal. Cheers.
See you next season.
See you next season. Game's over. So the Bucs, to me, dominated that game. It just, they let the Bills come back. By being a bit sloppy. So Tom Brady's a GOAT, man. Like, I mean, big Lenny Fournette, TD Lenny, had 113 yards and another touchdown on the ground. He's gleaming. Absolutely monstrous. Hey, moving on, terrible game this. Saints, I don't even like talking about the Saints now that they've got bloody Taysom Hill at quarterback, but the Saints played the Jets. The Saints won 30 points to the Jets, wheezily 9 points. Taysom Hill had 175 yards, no touchdowns. Alvin Kamara had 120 yards, 1 touchdown. I think a lot of the points came on a few turnovers, and Zach Wilson had 202 yards. But there really was nothing of worth in this game to talk about.
19 of 42.
Who's that?
Zach Wilson.
Yeah, terrible.
Passes of 42. That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Imagine having a 47% pass completion.
Yeah, that's terrible.
What a waste, man.
I mean, the Saints' defense is probably their biggest asset, and it's really hard to pass on the Saints when they're healthy. But just a nothing game there. The Saints, middle of the pack, 6-7, just staying in contention, in the mix, but they're not going to win anything with that jabroni at quarterback. And then the Jets are buried, done, busted, game. New York you're
Yeah,
done.
I think they're officially out of the playoffs as well.
Yeah, well, they should be, because they are god awful. Next game was the Raiders, Las Vegas, taking on the Kansas City Chiefs. This was a pummeling, and I loved every second of it. Don't like Derek Carr. Think he's proper average. Somehow, the only football player that he manages to find every week is Hunter Renfrow, who looks like he should genuinely work down some local Taco Bell. But the Raiders got dominated off the bat. Chiefs scored 48 points to the Raiders 9. Raiders go.
That is a good old shellacking, that isn't it?
It's a right good shellacking. 48 to the Raiders 9. So Raiders fall to 6 and 7, and the Chiefs start to rise and rise and rise to 9 and 4. I spoke about it in my sign, so I won't gloat anymore. But Mahomes just got the business done. Chiefs scored 14 points in the first quarter, 21 points in the second quarter. That's game over there and then. Buried, done. And they managed to just slap on another 13 in the final two, just because they had to keep playing football, basically. But that game was long gone for the Raiders as soon as it started. The defense of the Chiefs made Derek Carr's life a nightmare. I think he had 2 interceptions in the first 2 quarters. They had a fumble recovery. Just Chiefs defense went to town on this Raiders team and made it impossible for them to even feel like they could come back. So well played to the Chiefs. They're rolling. Next one, Jaguars, Titans. Jaguars 0, Titans 20. There really is nothing else to say about that game other than the scoreline. Jaguars, we know where you are. You were in Urban Meyer's crusty old shaven ferret-like hands. And the Titans, I mean, that's just a gimme. It's just a gimme when you're playing a Jaguars team at that level. So Tannehill didn't do anything special. 190 yards, no touchdowns. Dante Foreman had 47 yards and 1 touchdown. These are, by the way, the best numbers per player. And like Greg Swaim for the Titans, or George Swaim, I think he is like a tight end. He had 45 yards. So realistically, the Titans had to do nothing to win by 20 points. And that's exactly what they did. So the Titans do rise to 9 and 4 to rival the Chiefs in the AFC, and the Jaguars fall to a lowly 2 and 11. Next one was a divisional rival match. Kind of big connotations in the NFC East. Cowboys took on the Washington Wind Sox.
Yeah, the Washington Wind Sox.
Yeah, this one finished 27-20. Cowboys win. And it was a nothing game again in my eyes, Dave. I mean, the Cowboys defense came to play. They made it really difficult for Tyler Heineke. And the standout performance, and this is going to be controversial because you said you want to slap him, but my standout player for this game was Micah Parsons. The guy game wrecked and just was all over Tyler Heineke. Literally, like a spider monkey.
Yeah. You ready for me to slap him?
Go on, why are you slapping him?
Because
he's a cowboy.
No, not because he's a cowboy. I'm probably slapping, this has come to my knowledge because he's a cowboy, and Skip Bayless is somebody I watch on TV. He's a cowboy fan, and he bums off the Cowboys constantly. Micah Parsons, people are saying that he is the best defensive player in the NFL, which has got to be he's not in the top 25 best players defensive players in the NFL. Not close. He got 2 sacks in that game. How many tackles do you think he had?
Probably 4.
3.
Right.
But 2 of them are sacks. So he had one tackle.
Right.
He had one more than me. One tackle more than me sat here. Yeah. He's basically coming on linebacker blitzers.
Unblocked.
Yeah. So and he's got to beat fucking poor what's his name? Who's the running back? Antonio Gibson. Yeah. He's got to beat Antonio Gibson. The bloke weighs 250 pounds. Gibson weighs like 190.
Yeah.
He's ran over him and sacked the quarterback. He's gonna sack. That's how he's getting sacks.
Yeah.
If you said to Aaron Donald, Just gonna move all these players out the way, sprint as fast as you can, run over that bloke and then get him. Can you do it? He'd kill people.
Yeah.
Like, he's getting bummed off so much. Yeah, as an outside linebacker, yeah, he's getting more sacks. He's got a great defensive line that he's working through to get to the quarterback.
Yeah.
Imagine putting him behind the Rams. Putting him behind Von Miller.
Yeah.
Putting him behind... He'd have 70 sacks this season.
Yeah. No, I agree with you.
All these pundits are saying... I've not got to the worst bit yet. All the pundits are saying that... he's been amazing. He'd get 30 sacks if he just ran at the quarterback. Well, no, he wouldn't, because he'd be getting double teamed. Yeah. And the only reason people aren't scheming against him is because he's been in the league 35 seconds. It's his first season. He's going to have a good season. And then the shitbag comes out after the game and says, "Oh, the NFL's not that hard."
Yeah, I know. I saw that.
What an absolute arrogant fuck! And I knew he was going to be like that the second he got drafted.
Yeah,
and he was saying all the comments he was saying. Yeah. You're a middle linebacker, mate. You've not got the tackles of Bobby Wagner, Blake Martinez, Jordan Brooks. You're not in the top 10 of tackles. So what's your actual job? Oh, you're an outside linebacker. Should you be playing on the edge? Like, what are you doing? Are you doing a bit of both? Yeah, that's fine. Do a bit of both. But eventually, when people are at tape and they know you lined up on the outside, they're going to know what you do because you're not clever enough to disguise what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
He's an energy ball. He's basically a shitter version of Devin White.
Yeah.
And that's if you put Devin White's way more athletic than him. If you put him on them, you've seen when he steamrolls through people.
Mm. Yeah, he's bigger and faster.
Yeah, Blake Martinez got 4 sacks last year doing exactly what he does. Yeah. And he's not half the athlete of what these two are.
Yeah.
So anybody can do it. It's the fact that he's played in multiple positions and he wasn't in college. You know, so he's now getting... But I tell you what, when that offensive line starts to get a little bit worse or that he comes up against a good offensive line that knows what they're doing, he ain't going to get near anyone.
No. I saw something on Instagram that was... if you played Micah Parsons at linebacker, he'd have more tackles than Bobby Wagner, and if you played him on the edge, he'd have more sacks than Von Miller or something like this. And I was like,
they were comparing him to TJ Watt.
How can you even say that? Like, how can you even say that? Like, he's a rookie, and don't get me wrong. I mean, I'm not as down on him as you are in the fact that he's making an impact in pretty much every game he plays, and his speed is fucking like elite for his size. But I agree from what you're saying in the fact that what he's had to do to get his sacks, it's not skillful. It comes down to like just raw speed and not being blocked, basically.
It's luck.
Yeah.
He's not doing what TJ Watt does. So he's not doing what Aaron Donald and Myles Garrett, who get double teamed on every single play.
Hmm.
He's not got that to deal with. Because if he was one-on-one with an offensive lineman, a skilled offensive lineman, he wouldn't get near the quarterback because he'd just get pancaked.
Yeah,
he'd just get held up in the melee that's going on in the middle.
Yeah.
But when you're rushing like 5 people and then he comes as well late on a blitz, he can see the hole and get through it because he's rapid. I'm not saying he's not skilled. What I'm saying is he's so overhyped. 3 tackles is shit for a middle linebacker. What good is that?
Yeah.
And that's the reason the Windsox came back.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't want to hear them, Micah Parsons. I don't want to hear his name mentioned in the same breath as TJ Watt, who should be a 2-time Defensive Player of the Year. Donald, Garrett, JJ Watt. I don't want to hear him mentioned alongside any of them.
Or Bobby Wagner, for that matter.
Yeah. What is he? When he puts up more tackles than, like you say, Bobby Wagner, anybody who's a solid middle linebacker, they were comparing him to TJ Watt. It was breaking me. They were like, oh, he's got more pass deflections than TJ Watt. Yeah, he should do, because TJ Watt plays solely on the edge.
Mm-hmm.
He's not a middle linebacker. Absolute douche.
So he's getting the third slap of the day off you, yeah?
Yeah, tertiary slap is what he's getting.
Tertiary slap.
No.
Love it. Okay, well that's it. The Cowboys go to 9-4. The Washington Windsox fall to 6-7.
Both better records than the Giants. We play the Cowboys this week. So he's going to make me eat my words when
he might do.
Stripping balls out from...
Put Nate Solder on him.
Nate Solder wouldn't even notice him go past him.
Right. Okay. We'll get through the next three, and then we'll talk about our own games. So, the Ravens played the Browns again, a divisional battle, and this was a pretty standard one. Ravens ended up losing to the Browns, which is actually what I called this week. I thought they'd lose. Lamar Jackson though went down injured in the first minute, which means that the Ravens were playing with sort of half power anyway. The Browns won 24 to the Ravens 22. Browns didn't score a point in the second half. The Ravens held them to 0 points. Baker Mayfield fell off a cliff. And there was no massive stat lines in this one. Mark Andrews, I suppose, as a tight end at 115 yards and a touchdown. But other than that, Nick Chubb, Devontae Freeman, two running backs, both mustered to the maximum less than 70 yards each. So the Browns edge a little bit closer in that what's a very, very tight AFC South. And yeah. Oh, no, it's AFC North, isn't it? AFC North, sorry. And that's all I need to say about that one. Another game in the NFC was the Falcons. Falcons taking on the Panthers. Absolute toss of a game, this one. Both teams are playing for sod all. No point. Don't bother. But we've got to talk about them. And the Falcons managed to get the win here against the Panthers. Unfortunately, messing with my bet that I had on this week. I had Cam Newton to do bits, but clearly he can't. He ran in for a touchdown and then, did he get benched again?
Yeah.
Cam Newton got benched again in this one. The Panthers lost 21 to the Falcons 29, and there's really not a lot to talk about, really. Have you got anything to talk about in this one, Dave? It was a shitter of a game.
No, not at all. The only thing I want to add again about Micah Parsons, he's 52nd in the league in tackles. So don't come at me with anything other than
his average.
Oh my God.
Dave's passionate about this. We love it.
It's pissed
We love it. Right, the Rams. This was the Monday night. Rams Cardinals. This was a great game. Absolutely phenomenal game. Might have been the game of the week. And the Rams managed to beat the Cardinals after the Cardinals beat the Rams earlier in the season, splitting the divisional rivalry. And the Rams came away with a win, 30 to the Cardinals 23. And this was a little bit of a clinic from Matt Stafford, I think, and the ever productive Cooper Kupp. So Matt Stafford had 287 yards, 3 touchdowns. One of those was thrown to Odell Beckham. One of them thrown to Cooper Kupp. And the Cardinals did what they could, right, to try and get back into it, but the Rams were just too powerful.
Yeah, I mean, Kyler Murray didn't throw a touchdown. He had 383 yards though.
He had 2 interceptions as well.
Yeah. James Conner had
that's the difference.
2 rushing touchdowns. Where the rest of the points come from?
Rest of the points, yeah, I don't know where the rest of them came from actually. I mean, it must have been a defensive. But the Rams, this is an interesting one in the NFC West because I can't really pull these two teams apart, you know. As in,
no, I think
I can't separate them.
Well, they're both gonna make the playoffs, so there's a possibility they're gonna see one another at some point.
Yeah, it would be a good game if they do as well because they've split the divisional games, and I just think both teams play with they just play with that little bit of fire. Like it's hard for me to say, but like with Kyler Murray coming back, I know that he didn't score a touchdown through the air in this one, but he's aggressive with throwing that ball. Yeah. And I think he had like Christian Kirk had a couple of big catches. Hopkins had a few catches until he was injured. And AJ Green, yeah, so actually, I say that, AJ Green was third on my list, but he had the most catches in this game, or most yards, 10 targets, 7 catches, 102 yards. Him and Hopkins aren't on the same page at the minute, 12 targets for only 5 receptions. So he might have been locked down by, what's his name? Ramsey. So it opened everything else up. But I just think you can't put a Rizzler between these two teams, in my opinion. The scores are very similar, 9-4, 10-3. It's very tight at the top in the NFC West, and I think that these two teams are by far, if you've got any division that's got two good teams in it, these are the best two, if you know what I mean. Like, if you were going to put any two teams against any other two teams in the division, there's got to be these two.
Yeah, I think so.
So, it was a good game, really good game. Worth watching if anybody's not seen it, or just worth watching the highlights.
Yeah, it's something to say, but I can't remember what it was now.
Sorry, I'm interrupting you, aren't I?
No. It's I saw something and I was going to say something, but I've not.
Well, I was going to say that it feels like Matt Stafford's been at the Rams a lot longer than he has.
Yeah.
To me. It doesn't feel like his first season at the Rams. It feels like, I don't know, he just feels like it's comfortable in that offense. Doesn't feel like anything's new. And that's dangerous.
That's what I mean, like the difference in a quarterback. I think the playbook's very simple for him to understand. He's obviously got a good relationship with their coach already. What I was going to say was that our score predictions from last week, you were very close to this one. So you said the Rams were going to win 30-24.
Oh, 1 point off.
And I said the Cardinals were going to win. So.
Yeah, 1 point off. There we go. I know my shit, don't I? Interesting one in this game. Van Jefferson, who is a wide receiver for the Rams, his dad is the wide receiver coach at the Arizona Cardinals. So his dad
I saw that
watched his son put up a massive touchdown on his team, and that was glorious to watch. And he didn't even look happy in the slightest. It was great.
Off, yeah.
Suck on that, daddy. So that was a good game, really good game, and one to watch as a neutral. Then we'll go to our final games and cover that one off. The Seattle Seahawks went into Houston, the Texans, and we managed to come away with a big dub, the W, the win, and we won 33-13. Definitely not a gloatable win because the Texans suck ass. We made it feel a little bit difficult in the first half and then dominated in the second. So, I don't know, I can come away with it feeling relatively comfortable that we're not as bad a team as in when you play a bad team and you beat a bad team, it means that you're not total shit, but it also doesn't make me feel like I'm full of beans or confidence. So we won 33-13. We shut them out in the second half. They didn't score a point in the second half. They scored, I think it was 13 points. 13 points in the first. And we managed to just keep points ticking over for the first time in I don't know how long. So 10 points, 6 points, 3 points, 14 points. Russell Wilson had a great day. I think he was the third highest passer rating of the week with or PFF rating of 89 point something, which is pretty decent. Rashad Penny, like you said, had a breakout game, 137 yards and 2 touchdowns. First round pick for the first time in 4 years, had a first round pick performance. And Tyler Lockett did bits as he always does with 142 yards and a touchdown. And he's now in COVID protocol. Texans had absolutely nothing to shout about, apart from maybe Davis Mills throwing for 300 yards. But I think if you put Ewing at quarterback against the Seahawks, Dave, you'd probably have 300 yards.
I can't really throw a ball, so.
Exactly. I still think you'd have 300 yards. And that was it. The Seahawks get a win. And that's all I really need to say is that we just need to keep getting these wins. We're technically not out of playoff contention, but we basically almost are. 4-8 against the Texans, 2-11. And then to finish with the Giants taking on the Chargers. Dave, I'll let you wrap up this very poor performance from a neutral perspective of the Giants, and Justin Herbert seemed to have his way against you boys.
Yeah, we got our asses handed to us by the Chargers, which is not something that I expected to happen as bad as it did, considering we played some very good teams close, and I don't consider the Chargers a very good team at all. I consider them just a good team. They put the score of 37-21 does not seem as bad as how we played, and the garbage or DAC yards that we were getting after the reserves came in about halfway through the second quarter because they were already pissed all over us. So I didn't take anything away from the score. We got absolutely slapped. It's the worst beating we've had this year, probably outside of the Dallas game, which we're about to get again this week. My biggest gripe is when we played Patrick Mahomes and when we played Tom Brady, we played two deep safeties the whole time, and it nearly worked against the Chiefs. We very nearly we were a couple of we had the potential to take them to overtime against Justin Herbert, who's got probably the biggest arm out of all three. We were playing some soft, secondary coverage where multiple times he just threw a cannon over the top and it was caught for a 70-yard touchdown.
Yeah.
And it was driving me insane. We kept the rushing down. I think the highest rusher was 67 yards, but didn't need to because he was just throwing it. He was throwing it wherever he wanted. We didn't make it a challenge with him at all. I don't even know if we got a sack on him. Let me have a look.
Yeah, it didn't feel that way. I mean,
we had one sack, no, 2 sacks, and I think one of them was actually on their backup. Oh, they didn't play a backcourt, so they must have sacked him once. So yeah, it was just a shit show. Mike Glennon needs to take his cleats or his boots, put them in the bin, and then leave and never return. I never want to see his name on a stat sheet ever again. Unfortunately, I'm probably going to see it again next week. We tried a trick play by Riley Dixon, our punter, who's very, very poor at punting the ball. We trusted him to throw a ball on 4th down, and he did throw it. He threw it about 25 yards over the head of the receiver. So it wasn't a great day. Barkley, like Dom said earlier, had 16 carries for 64 yards. He did actually have a touchdown, a receiving touchdown. So both our touchdowns came from our receivers. So all the money that we spent on Kenny Golladay was worth 15 yards. It's just a poor show. And it probably ain't going to get any better this week because we play the Cowboys.
A tough one.
We're technically, again, not out the playoffs, although I think we will be after this Saturday. It was just a shit week. The Giants lost. I lost in fantasy, and my bets didn't come in because of the Giants. So yeah, great time, great chat. On to Cincinnati. So by Cincinnati, I mean Dallas.
Indeed. Onwards. That's the only way you can go. And that wraps up our on the clock section. So, in the spirit of Christmas, it's the holiday period. It's the time for giving. It's the time for family. It's the time for Father Christmas. And me and Dave have been writing our Christmas lists and posting them to Lapland and doing whatever else you're supposed to do to make them all magically come true. Do you burn them on the fire or something like that? I don't know. But we've been writing our Christmas lists for what we want to happen, or for what we wish for the most in the NFL or in general this year. So we want to reach out to good old Saint Nick and ask him for a few things. So on to our new and special segment for Christmas, which is Dom and Dave's Christmas list. So Dave, Santa Claus is coming to town. Oh yeah! And Dave, do you want me to lead? Shall I start?
I'll start.
You're going to start.
Santa
well, if you're going to start, I
fine.
need you to talk directly to Santa. By the way, so I need you to say, "Dear Santa, this is what I want for Christmas." You got to say it like that, or your wishes don't come true. Apparently, anyway, that's what he told me.
Dear Santa, I demand that you fire Dave Gettleman, the Giants GM. he sucks on so many different levels. He's had the best part of 4 years, and I don't even want to count. We've probably not had a draft pick outside of the top 10 since he's been there. And in that time, he's skipped over Nick Chubb to sign Hernandez, who's a guard, who is shit. He's skipped over Quinton Nelson, who is one of the best guards in the Football League, and signed Saquon Barkley. There are numerous people he has dipped. This last one was the best one he's had. Okay, so Azeez Ojulari is looking good. He's got about 7 sacks, 7.5 sacks. He looks alright. Picked him up in the second round. We traded back with the Bears to gain their first round pick this year, which is gave us 2, because Justin Fields doesn't really look that great. And we took Kadarius Toney, who, if he wasn't made of glass, he would probably be pretty good. Other than that, he's been shit, and I want him gone. And not only do I want him gone, Santa, I want a GM picked from outside the organisation. If they pick somebody like his assistant GM, I'm going to jump out my bedroom window.
And that would just inflict, like,
it wouldn't
pain.
Kill me.
It's just pain.
Yeah. Hopefully, a dog will have done a little shit on that bit of grass, and I just land in it, because that's all we're worth. Thank you, Santa.
Okay. Well, I hope that Santa can bring you that Christmas gift, Dave. I really do. Dear Santa, I wish this Christmas for the Seattle Seahawks to do whatever it takes to keep Russell Wilson this offseason. Whatever it takes. Dear Santa, please fire that old man Pete Carroll, bring in some young blood, but do whatever it takes to keep Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson is a generational talent. Russell Wilson is a franchise quarterback. Franchise quarterbacks do not come along very often. Franchise quarterbacks, the caliber of Russell Wilson, do not come along very often at all. We need to realize that in Seattle, we have got something good. We have got a player that is beyond the capabilities of most players' dreams in the NFL. The second most winning quarterback in its first 10 years in the NFL ever, behind Peyton Manning. That is not a player that you take lightly. That is not a player that you trade away for 1 or 2 or even maybe 3 first-round picks just because his contract is ending. You don't do that. You pay the man. You open your checkbook and you pay that man 50 million. You pay him Mahomes monies. You give him more money than Mahomes, because without him, Seattle, you are nothing. So, dear Santa, please get rid of Krusty Carroll. Please bring some new blood and make it worthwhile Russell Wilson staying. If he asks for a player in the off-season, we got loads of money, go get him. If he asks for Odell Beckham Jr., you don't let him go to the Rams, to a competitor in your own division. You go get him. That's what we need. That's what we need. Santa, please sprinkle that dust, or whatever it is, all over Pete Carroll and put him out of his misery. Don't kill him, just make him retire. Thank you very much.
Done?
Yeah.
Very, very, very convincing. If Santa was real.
He is real, Dave. Come on, he is real.
Notional Santa. Please do this for me. What I really want, not more than anything, but it's definitely my top 3 wishes within the NFL world. Make Aaron Rodgers leave the Green Bay Packers.
Yes.
I need to see him somewhere else, because I'm sick of the smug Packers fans that live within our lives, that if they're losing or they lose one game, the whole season's over. They need to experience the Giants' misery. They need to experience the life of a 5-12 team. That's what they need to experience.
Come on, Santa.
Without Aaron Rodgers, Devontae Adams goes. And then they have nothing. And I pray that a team, the Saints, I don't really want them in the NFC, but the Saints, the Vikings, who else needs a quarterback? The Giants, the fucking Giants. We will give that man a 4-year contract. Don't worry about living on the West Coast. Come to the East Coast. New York, Broadway. We've got everything.
Broadway. Da, da, da. Got to dance.
You can see Hamilton every night. People of New York, make it happen. Santa, I beg of you.
Get rid of Aaron.
Get Rodgers to a different team. Or basically what I'm saying is, shit on the Packers. Thank you, Santa.
Love it. Okay. So, dear Santa, because I know that you can perform miracles, please do not let me finish last in our fantasy league this year. I am headed straight towards a very sharp-ended wooden spoon that may drive straight through my heart. Please do not let that be so. I'm bottom of the league. I've conceded far more points than any normal man should ever concede, and that's out of my control. But I've also scored second to last points. Please let me finish the season by being fifth, not sixth. That's all I ask. I had a great draft. I've had some bad injuries. It's not my fault. Sam's been lucky as fuck. Please, Santa, all I ask is that I do not get the wooden spoon trophy. End.
Santa, I wish for you to disregard that last wish, as currently I am fifth in the fantasy league, and I feel as though I deserve to not be fifth, as I finished fifth for the last 2 seasons. What I require is for Ben to fall 2 places, especially below me, and even maybe below Dom, although I do think it would be pretty funny if he doesn't. That is not actually my main wish, but that is a secondary wish, which will be an annex to this wish. I just had to get it in because I wasn't going to put it in. Please, Santa, make Roger Goodell take hold of Jackson Mahomes and kick him square in the bollocks. I do not want to see Jackson Mahomes at any NFL stadium, so he should be banned. All the teams should ban him from their stadium because he is an inappropriate child who doesn't give a fuck about players' remembrance bits that may be on the side or on the floor. He will dance on them and make a TikTok video. Doesn't care about your fans. He will pour water on them and shout things at them if the Chiefs lose. The man is an absolute dick and needs to be removed from the NFL. The NFL is a man's game. It is a game that is driven by military sort of relevance and toughness, and he is not part of it. He needs to be gone. He's doing nothing but bring in shame upon the league. Get rid of him. I'm sure Mahomes probably wants him gone as well.
Yeah.
Patrick Mahomes.
Go on, Santa, get rid of him. Shame upon the league and shame upon Patrick Mahomes' dad. Imagine having Mahomes as a son, Patrick Mahomes as a son, and then turning across the dinner table, across the turkey at Christmas, and seeing Jackson Mahomes doing this.
In his pants. Wherever
in his pants. And for those that are listening to a podcast,
knob.
I'm doing one of the most ridiculous flailing dances you've ever seen, and I'm clearly not a TikTok man. And there you go.
Yeah. So please, Santa, get rid of him, because he is an annoyance. I'm sick of hearing about him. He's got no discernible skill.
Sorry, Santa.
Yeah, he's got no skill set. The man's just a dick. He's clinging on to his brother's fame. And yeah, if my brother was a superstar quarterback, I would probably like to be around the situation. But I like to think I'm adult enough to be able to sit there and just do this. Or, yay, good play, good touchdown. Not dance like a fucking knob just because you want to get some follow. Like, if my brother's got a £500 million contract, guess what? He's going to be dishing me a little bit, you know? With family, he's going to give me a little bit of money. I don't need to be a TikTok superstar because I'm a fucking adult, and I don't need little gimps liking me and liking my stuff on social media. If I was in physical distance of Jackson Mahomes, I would rip his head clean off his shoulders.
Santa does not give wishes to naughty boys, Dave.
Yeah, that's probably why I don't get anything I want. I've said it before and I'll say it again. I've done 3 tours of Afghanistan in the infantry. Jackson Mahomes is the worst thing I've ever seen in my life.
Period.
He's a creature. I would rather live for 7 years in Afghanistan with no sun cream than have to watch one of this little gimp's TikTok videos. Okay. Hear me now.
Hear him now. Dear Santa, I wish for the Chiefs to make the Super Bowl from the AFC and destroy the Green Bay Packers, who I believe they will be facing in the Super Bowl. Jackson Mahomes does not have to be present. In fact, I prefer it if he wasn't. Prefer it if he was miles away from the stadium. But, dear Santa, please let the Chiefs win the Super Bowl if they are playing the Green Bay Packers.
Can't agree. Can't get on board with it. Because one, that little gimp's going to be there. Secondly, with your team that's still got a chance of getting to the Super Bowl, are you asking for another team to win it?
I just said if they play the Green Bay Packers.
Yeah, but you should be saying, Santa, let the Seahawks rise from the ashes like a phoenix and devour and get there and face the Chiefs. And when we face the Chiefs, we're going to destroy them. And Russell Wilson will get the credit he's finally due, and he'll win the Super Bowl MVP.
Maybe you can wish that for me.
Absolutely not. The Giants have still got a chance. Danny Dimes is winning the Super Bowl MVP.
Okay, well, maybe you'll like my final wish a little bit better then. Dear Santa, please make sure that the Dallas Cowboys lose the remaining games in their schedule because they are huge, steaming great turds.
I can get on board with that.
Yeah?
Yeah.
That's my final wish.
I like it. I want the Cowboys Stadium to collapse upon itself when nobody's in there, when it's empty, so like midnight, and just like fall into a huge sinkhole, and the Cowboys have to play the remainder of their games on the street where they belong. Scumbags.
Well, that's our Christmas list.
Santa, I know how you feel.
We're not asking for a lot. Just get on with it. You've got 8 days. Crack on, Santa. Right, finally. Sky Sports games in the NFL this week. If you're a UK fan and you're watching Sky Sports, these are the games that will be played. Me and Dave are going to talk you through what we believe the scores to be. Quick fire. So, switch on Sky Sports. If you really want to be daring on Sunday, press the red button and watch 7 hours of commercial-free football with Scott Hansen on the Red Zone, or you can watch these individual games. So, Thursday night football, we've got the Kansas City Chiefs taking on the Los Angeles Chargers, playing at SoFi Stadium, the Chargers' house. Dave, scores on the doors.
This is going to have to be a big one, I think. I think the Chiefs will win, and they'll win 31-28.
Scorage. mega scorage. I'm going to go with what's trending at the moment, and that is that the last 6 games, the Chiefs have only conceded on average 9.5 points a game. So I think the Chiefs defense comes to play here a little bit and makes Herbert's life a little bit difficult, but he's a good enough quarterback to score some points, so they won't hold him to 9. I think that the Chargers score 17 points and that the Chiefs score 38.
38?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
17 to 38. Next game, Las Vegas Raiders taking on the Cleveland Dirty Browns.
Oh, that is a poor game.
It's a poor game.
The Raiders beat the Browns because the Browns have got nobody because they've all got COVID. The Raiders beat the Browns 24-7.
Oh, youchies. Okay, I'm going to go with the fact that the Raiders are in a bit of a turmoil right now, and the Browns have still got some players that are worth their mustard, and so I'm going to say that the Browns win. The Browns ground and pound the life out of the Raiders. This could be a low scorer, and I think that the Browns win 17 to the Raiders 13. New England Patriots taking on the Indianapolis Colts. Quite a good game, actually.
Oh, I can't. Patriots win. 17-10.
Okay. I'm going Colts win. And I think the Colts win 21 to 17.
Okay.
Washington Windsox take on the Philadelphia Fannies.
Oh, as if they're double divisional.
For those people who are listening and don't know about football, it's actually the Philadelphia Eagles. They're not actual vaginas.
The Eagles lose to the Windsox. But I think this is going to be a high-scoring game. I think the Windsox win 27-24.
Ooh, okay. And I'm going to go opposite again. We're clashing this week. And I'm going to say that the Eagles win in a bit more of a low-scoring affair, running the ball like they do. I think that the Eagles win 20 to the Washington football team's 16.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not sure how they get to 16. There might be a safety. There might be a couple of 8-pointers. I'm not sure, but that's what I'm going with.
Okay.
Last but not least, the Green Bay Packers are taking on the Baltimore Ravens.
The Packers are going to absolutely dick on the Ravens. The Packers are going to win 31-7. They're going to absolutely spit all over them.
I too think the Packers are going to dominate, and I'm going to say that they win 35 to the Ravens 17.
I don't think the Ravens are going to score a point in the first half.
Wow. You heard it here first. And that's the game. That is the Sky Sports games. That is Slap and Sign. That is On the Clock. And that is Dom and Dave's Christmas list. All done. In the End Zone Podcast UK. Thank you for listening. Thank you for making it all the way through the podcast. Much appreciated. Stick with us. Keep following. Keep telling your friends. Keep watching football, most importantly. And we will see you just a couple of days before Christmas.
Yes, we will.
Lovely. Take it easy and peace out.